So I had a chance to visit the pyramids at Giza, and man, did I feel dwarfed by their size and scale. They're these sharp, precise, behemoth objects that stand out of the endless flowing sand of the desert. And then you think about their age, like 4,500 years old, and you think, geez, man, that's forever ago. But when I was standing next to them, this all came over me. And I couldn't help but think about all the people who built them. The thousands upon thousands of people who spent their lives building these things day in and day out from birth to death. Many of them must not have known anything else but that construction scene. And I began to wonder, what were their names? Who were they? I mean, any of them. I figured I'd be able to find some of the names of the designers or master architects, but I could only really find the name of a pharaoh and one engineer that was responsible for the step pyramids, which isn't even at Giza. So we don't know any of the other architects or the engineers or the craftsmen. We don't know their individual contributions, what problems they solved, what sacrifices they made, and nothing about their personal lives. All of it's been lost to time. And this made me feel sad thinking about it. At night, I stayed to see the laser light show, and I was able to watch the night sky fill the background behind the pyramids, and I could see the stars of the Milky Way above. It was amazing and totally unforgettable. And as I was sitting there, I started to think about the universe and its size and scale, and how these pyramids are really nothing more than an insignificant bump on a small blue planet floating around a pretty ordinary star that's just one of billions floating around the outer skirts of a galaxy that's, again, one of billions of galaxies in a universe that we can't even see the edges of because it's just so big. And my mind flipped back to those people who committed to building those pyramids, thinking they probably believed they were creating something that would be eternal, something important, something significant in the grand scheme of things. And they were wrong, because they've all already been lost, and only their work stands with no memory of what they personally contributed. And even that work will be lost. Maybe it'll take 5,000 years, maybe 10,000. But even if it's 100,000 or 1,000,000, it'd still be lost in a time scale that's nothing more than a blink of an eye compared to the time of the universe. I started to think about myself and my place in the world and my personal sense of importance. Because these lost people represent me, and they represent you, and they represent everyone we know. Who we are, our names, what we'll do, it'll all be lost. And as far as we know, there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Now, at first, I was just overwhelmed by this realization because it meant that everything I knew was meaningless. This way of seeing things made life at its root empty and desolate, to say the least. I mean, it clearly shows there's no way to make any significant difference. I was stuck in the realization that nothing I could do would ever have any real significance. Nothing I could do could matter. It was as if doing anything was senseless, and any other way to look at my life was nothing more than a wishful dream. But then I was sitting out in the middle of the desert near a pyramid. I couldn't just stay there, or at least I didn't want to just stay there. So I had to do something. But why? Even choosing to walk back to the hotel or going to dinner seemed pointless and meaningless. Why did I need to do anything? That question, why, just felt so oddly bizarre while I was sitting in this awareness of my own insignificance and the meaninglessness of my actions. How could that question make any sense considering what I now understood? That question rattled around in my mind for a long time. I had to accept that my own life was insignificant and that there couldn't be any inherent meaning in anything I did. So to search for a purpose was pointless. But that didn't stop the nagging question of why. Why was still there, sitting at every corner. The question never went away. It was like a splinter in my mind. Why? And then I realized it wasn't a question I could ask to the world, or to the universe, or to anyone else. I could never find the answer to my question. It's a question I could only answer from that place deep inside myself. It was my why. I had to actually create it. I had to pull that answer out of my heart and soul. And even if I wasn't sure there was such a thing as a soul, I had to deal with the fact that the answer had to come from a place that I could sense was there, but I could never use a finger to point to. It was a place that went beyond the stories that the world gave me, beyond the stories I told myself about the world, beyond my thoughts or my emotions or even my expectations. It had to come from that place deep within me. And I had to cut out all the other garbage that my brain and the world feeds to me. So it wasn't easy to reach. When I did reach it, I could finally create an answer to those questions. Those answers were my own personal response to who I am and why I'm here and what meaning I put to whatever I decide to do and what purpose I choose to have. And those things are mine, independent from the world. Nobody can touch them because nobody gave them to me. They're creations from me. And from this place, I somehow started to feel a little bit better. I was still scared at the implications of my lack of inherent meaning and purpose, but finally looking into a place where I could begin to sense a new level of freedom and, honestly, personal empowerment that I hadn't ever felt before. I mean, life is empty. Life is meaningless. I will be lost to the enormity of the space and time of the universe. There's no way to stop this. But while I am here, I can create everything that matters. Who I am, what is my purpose, and what brings meaning to my life. I get to say, I get to live it, I get all the intrinsic rewards of my choices. I get to write my own story, whatever it's going to be, both the good and the bad, and whatever path I choose. And even if it's no more than a stupid sandcastle on a beach where I know darn well that the tide will come in and wash away any evidence it ever existed, I still get to enjoy the creation process. I still get the story and imagery and emotional ride to experience and enjoy for the instant that it's mine own existence. And I get to see that sandcastle exist only because I said so. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, other beings will walk by and it may give them some instant energy or add to the beauty of their story. And so I decided I was wrong. Those workers who built those insane pyramids had a profound and meaningful purpose. It was their work and the loss of the knowledge of their individual contributions that uncovered for me that prison I had locked myself up in. The prison that's created by the expectation that if I only wait, the world will hand me the answers to my deepest and most important questions. And by helping me realize the truth of my own insignificance, it forced me to finally discover my freedom, which allowed my creativity to flow into my everyday life so I could take both the credit and blame for the story of my life. And this allows me to live a life of my own conscious design and love the life I'm living. And most of all, to avoid being that old man who regrets missing out on life, as instead of choosing and just doing, I would have waited for an answer that could never come. The mystery of the pyramid workers released me from that prison and saved me from that terrible outcome. And so thanks to those unnamed workers who built the pyramids at Giza, my life has meaning and purpose that can never be taken away, because I understand it's me who has to say.